Mike Norvell is widely respected in the college football world as one of the top offensive minds in the game. Schematically, he's really known for two things. Firstly, he establishes a hard-nosed run game through the use of counter and outside zone. Then he takes shots downfield using a vertical passing game to large-bodied receivers. But there's something else that he should be known for, something that's a bit harder to see. Throughout that, Norvell's offense runs more than any other is the go route, where a receiver heads straight down the field in an attempt to run past a defender. This isn't a surprise given his offense's vertical nature, but it's also not exactly unique to him. Go routes are the most common route in all of college football. Often teams just tack it on to basically every passing concept to keep defenses honest. No, I think it's more useful to look at which routes Norvell runs more often compared to other teams, not when compared to himself. This gives a more illustrative view of his passing game. You can see here that he tends to like screens, both to receivers and to running backs, and he avoids crosses, flares, and pivot routes that are strongly associated with air raid teams. And at the highest usage rate compared to others, he loves using wheel routes, at an admittedly pedestrian 1.8% of all routes run in 2022. But he really knows how to use them well. Last season, FSU amassed the most yards in the country on plays that featured wheel routes with a whopping 418 yards. 152 of which came from targeting the wheel route specifically. But before we get too far, let's take a second to define a wheel route. Basically, a wheel route is any route where a receiver first goes directly towards the sideline before heading up the field. Usually this is the default vertical route of a running back, since it would be difficult to ask your small frame running back to navigate through the box to run upfield. But it can also be done from slot receivers who want to switch with an outside receiver down the field. So let's talk about how he packages plays containing these routes. The most common form you'll see this route in Norvell's system is as a backside option on a larger passing concept. Here FSU is running a play called Mesh, which uses crossing receivers over the middle of the field in an attempt to set a pick and spring a receiver open against man coverage. Luckily for them, they catch Miami in a man blitz, meaning Jordan Travis basically has his pick as the two crossers are already open at the back of his drop. But instead of throwing to these receivers, he throws to the running back out of the backfield on a wheel. This leads me to believe that this wheel route was actually Jordan Travis's first read, what I would call an alert read. That implies that he looks immediately post-snap to see if he has a good matchup on his running back, and he takes a shot if he likes it, or he quickly moves on if he doesn't. In this case, Miami thought it would be a good idea to have their 6'6", 300-pound nose tackle, who now plays for FSU, most likely as an attempt to avoid this situation in the future, cover tailback running down the field in man coverage. This is the definition of a mismatch, and JT jumps on the alert read. Here's another similar situation against Georgia Tech. FSU is running a concept called drive or shallow, depending on who you ask. It's very similar in nature to mesh, except one of the crossers is going to go about 10 to 15 yards downfield, so instead of stressing the defense using picks, they stress them by stretching them out vertically. However, the result is the same. All of this action in the middle of the field allows FSU to isolate Tech's large-bodied defensive end out in space against their tailback. These kind of plays are likely to remain a staple of FSU's offense in 2023 based on their play calling in the spring game. Here you can see FSU is running a drive concept, this time out of a 2x2 formation, and they're able to get a mismatch with an inside linebacker on a faster running back running down the field. However, what stands out to me about the spring game is that FSU seems to be looking to expand their usage of the wheel concept. The easiest way to do this is just to change the location of the running back. Here's another drive concept, but instead of being in the backfield, the running back is out wide in an empty set. This can pose two advantages. First, it allows the back to get into his route faster, and second, it clarifies the read for the quarterback, who can quickly tell that he has a one-on-one against a linebacker. But what really stood out to me were plays like this. Notice who's running the wheel route. Here, let me play it again. Here's another example. In these plays, it's not the running back or the tailback, but the tight ends and receivers running wheel routes. And instead of having a drive or a mesh concept to the front side, it seems like the two sides are mirroring each other. This is new for Norvell, at least in his time at FSU. This is what's called a switch concept, and it comes from the run and shoot. The run and shoot was an offense invented by Tiger Ellison and made famous by Mouse Davis, which went against the grain of the 3 yards and cloud of dust football of the day to best utilize their undersized but quick receivers. The inspiration came from watching kids play football in their backyards. Receivers roamed freely around the field, and quarterbacks had to adjust to them as they settled in holes in the defense. This philosophy resulted in plays that looked like this, where each one of these arrows represented a different option for the wide receiver to run, depending on what they saw on defense. While these options have been pared down for many teams, the core concepts of the run and shoot still remain. Let's be honest, this is just one extra play in a playbook, but it's an important one. Much like Tiger Ellison, Norvell is adding a lot of speed to this roster, specifically through the addition of smaller but more athletic tight ends. This speed needs the right scheme to maximize its success, and it seems like Norvell is willing to expand his comfort zone in order to let that happen. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Make sure to like and subscribe to both this channel and the Noles 247 channel where I do other work. Thanks.